Good morning and welcome to University of Iowa and Big Ten College Softball. Today it's game number 4 between the University of Iowa and the Purdue University Boilermakers from West Lafayette, Indiana. Again, it's game number 4. I'm Jerry Koala with you on this Sunday, on a Palm Sunday as we head into the Easter weekend next weekend. It's this 4th game of this series that really has been a nice series for the University of Iowa. Got started strong on Friday with a good pitching performance from Sarah Lehman, who went 7 innings, giving up 3 hits, 2 runs, one of them earned, and picking up the win to get her 5th win of the season. She now at 5-1. And the Hawkeyes did wrap out 13 hits and scoring their 4 runs. They scored 1 in the first to begin the game. They got 2 more in the 4th inning to take a 3-0 lead, had to withstand a home run that was hit by Riley Platusik in the bottom of the 4th inning, and then both would score a run in the 6th inning. Iowa would go to 4-1, and they were and then Purdue would score 1 in the bottom of the 6th inning, but Iowa won that game by the score of 4-2. In the doubleheader yesterday, in game number 1 of that doubleheader, Iowa jumped up to a 3-0 lead with 3 runs in the top of the 2nd inning. They used 6 hits to get there. And then they withstood a Purdue rally as Iowa scored 2 more in the top of the 5th to make it 5-0. But then a 3-run home run by Cora Bassett made it 5-3 and got things a little bit more tense as the game went into the 6th and 7th innings. But the Hawkeyes able to shut down Purdue in their at-bats in the 6th and 7th innings. A 5-3 win. Allison Ducey picked up her 3rd win of the season and is 3-3 after the win in game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday. She went 7 innings. She gave up 6 hits, 3 runs. All of them were earned. She did strike out 12 in the win. In the second game of the doubleheader, game number 3 of the series, the Purdue Boilermakers were able to come out on top 5-4 in a 12-inning contest. That's the second 12-inning game that the Hawkeyes have played this season. The last time Iowa got into a 12-inning affair, it ended up being a 6-5 win over Penn State when they played down in Leesburg, Florida. Purdue started the game with a run in the bottom of the 1st inning, and then they picked up another run in the bottom of the 5th inning. So heading into the top of the 7th, the Hawkeyes needed 2 to tie, 3 to take the lead. They did get that tie with 2 runs in the top of the 7th inning to send the game into extra innings. Neither team would score in the 8th, 9th, or 10th innings, but in the 11th, the Hawkeyes would score 1. Purdue would come back and score another one in the bottom of the 11th inning. In the 12th inning, the Hawkeyes again would take a lead at 4-3, but Purdue would come back in the bottom of the 12th inning, score 2 runs to win the game 5-4. Quite a game it was. It was Lauren Shaw who started the game for the Hawks. She went 8 in the 3rd inning. She yielded 11 hits, giving up 2 runs. Both of them were earned. She walked no batter, struck out 2, but Sarah Lehman would come in with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th inning. Excuse me, bottom of the 8th inning. No, bottom of the 9th inning. She gave up 4 hits and 3 runs. Only 1 of them was earned. She walked a couple, and she struck out 1. So it was Sarah Lehman taking that loss in the game 2 of that doubleheader yesterday. Her record now is 5-2. Now we head into today's game number 4. And I can tell you, folks, the weather has changed dramatically. Yesterday, the temperature was at 70 degrees with a light breeze and sunshine. Well, today it's 43 degrees at game time. And the winds are out of the west-northwest at about 20 miles per hour, so a starkly different day for the Iowa-Purdue game number 4 of this doubleheader, or of this 4-game series. But you can imagine, though, being in late March in the Midwest, it happens this way. One day is a beautiful day. The next day it gets cold and windy. We've played in rain. We've played in snow showers in the past. It's just something that they deal with as we get into outdoor softball in the Midwest and the Big Ten. Finally, once we get into April, sometimes we can get some good weather, but never know what you're going to get from week to week. And this weekend, it's Iowa-Purdue. It's game number 4. And head coach Renee Gillespie, as she walks out to the third base line, as the Hawks will be batting first here today, again, for the 4th game. She's going to send Allison Ducey to the circle. We'll talk about Allison coming up when the Hawks get out into the field. The Hawks will begin the game with Nia Carter at the plate. Now, Nia had a hit in 4 at-bats in Game 1. She had another hit, a run scored, an RBI, and a walk in Game 2. And then in game 3 yesterday, second of the doubleheader, she was 2 for 4. So she has 4 hits in 11 at-bats coming into today's game. And she is facing Savannah Henley. And she bunts right out in front of Savannah Henley, and she beats out the throw to the first baseman. It gets past her but bounces off of the dugout where the Iowa Hawkeyes are. So right off the bat, Nia Carter bunts to get on. And the Hawks threatening right away. This is game number 4, certainly a game that Iowa wants to win. They want to leave this West Lafayette area with a 3-1 record and heading into Big Ten play next weekend at home against the University of Indiana. We'll talk more about that, too, as this game progresses. That brings up Riley Sheehy. Sheehy looks and she stabs at one to bunt to try to move Nia Carter. Sheehy in the doubleheader yesterday was 1 for 8, and in game number 1 on Friday, she was 2 for 4, so she's 3 of 12 coming into today's game number 4 is Riley Sheehy. Sheehy got her base hit yesterday in the 9th inning, top of the 9th inning, when the Hawks loaded up the bases but didn't get a run across. Here's the 0-1 to Sheehy, and she again will reach out and try to stab it with a bunt, and it goes foul, and she is now 0-2. And we talk about Savannah Henley. She started the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. She came in relief of Alex Echezarreta. And Savannah went 5 1/3 innings, giving up 5 hits in that first game in which the Hawks won it 5-3. She gave up 2 runs, one of them earned. She walked 2 and struck out 5. Here's the 0-2 to Riley Sheehy. That's outside, so it's a ball and 2 strikes. Savannah coming into the weekend had pitched 14 innings, given up 18 hits, 13 runs, 8 of them earned. So a 4.00 ER coming in to the weekend. So let's add 5 1/3 innings to her pitch, and that gives her 19 1/3. She up to 21 hits. Here's a swing off an off-speed pitch, and Sheehy will foul it off of her instep. A very off-speed pitch. So Henley, 18 hits. Into yesterday's appearance, she's now up to 21. She gave up 2 runs. That's 15 on the season. So her ERA at 4.00, and she had 1 earned run, so that'll drop a little bit. She has 9 earned runs on the season. Here is a pitch that's up and away from Riley Sheehy, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. We welcome you along the BigTNPlus.com network. I'm Jerry Koala. We got game number 4 between the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Purdue Boilermakers. And after yesterday's split of that doubleheader, the Hawks in a tie for 5th place with Nebraska with 9-5 records. Here's one down the third base line that bounces foul. Iowa did a number of that yesterday. The left-handed hitters were able to go with pitches down the third base line. Some of them fair, a few of them went foul. Iowa's 9-6 record puts them in a tie for 5th place with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Northwestern in first at 14-1. Minnesota second at 13-3. Michigan third at 12-3. And Illinois in 4th place at 10-5. Here's a pitch that Sheehy, an off-speed pitch she waits on. It's inside on her. She rips it down the first base line. After Sheehy will be Grace Baines, playing shortstop again. Denali Lecker, Kelena Burns, Ashley Hamilton, Marissa Peak, and Lindy Milkowski, they all kind of rotate around. So head coach Renee Gillespie has found some of those role players that are in and out of the lineup and produce when they're in. Here's the 2-2 from Savannah Henley to Sheehy upstairs, and it nearly gets away from the catcher Kylie Goff. She had to leap to get it. Catching today is Marissa Peak, and she'll be batting 8th in the lineup. Grace Baines is on deck. Nia Carter at first as she just bunted to get on. So it's a full count on Riley Sheehy. Here's the offering from Henley. A pitch that's off speed, catches that inside corner, and it's a strikeout on Riley Sheehy. Fooled her. And is the second strikeout of the weekend for Riley Sheehy, the third actually, as she struck out in each of the doubleheader games yesterday. So that'll bring up Grace Baines, right-handed hitter, freshman from Kansas City, Kansas. Here's the first offering from Henley that's downstairs, and it's ball one. So we're scoreless. We're just underway here in this game number 4 of the 4-game series between the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Purdue Boilermakers. Savannah Henley in the circle, an off-speed pitch, hits that outside corner. She's on target so far, makes it a 1-ball-and-1-strike count. Savannah Henley, a freshman from Mechanicsville, Virginia, getting her education at University of Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana. Here is the 1-1 offering, and Grace Baines will get it. A backhand stab by the third baseman in Cora Bassett. What a play from behind third base. A fair ball that she got. She stopped and zinged a throw across the diamond to first base, and Sydney Bates playing first today, and they get Grace Baines by a half a step. Nice play by the third baseman for Purdue, Cora Bassett, to get Iowa its second out of the inning. It moves Nia Carter in scoring position to second base, and it brings up Denali Lecker. Here's Lecker swinging and missing. She comes into the game with a .255 average. Lecker 12 hits and 47 at-bats. She pinch hit yesterday with a base hit and was 1 for 3 in game number 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, so 1 for 4 in Saturday's play. And then she started the first base on Friday, was 1 for 2, so 2 for 6 on the weekend. Here is the 1-1 that Lecker rips right to third base. Bassett again, and a high throw across the diamond, but a nice play at first base to go up and get it by Sydney Bates, keep it from going over her head. She came right down on first base for the third out, but a good hit, a nice rip by Denali Lecker. Good fielding play by Purdue, and that ends the Hawkeyes here in the top of the first inning. They get a leadoff single by Nia Carter, but is set down the next 3 batters. Purdue comes to the plate. It'll be Riley Scott, Rachel Becker, and Cora Bassett for the Boilermakers when play resumes. So we hit into the bottom of the first inning. Allison Ducey in the circle for the Hawks. Allison won game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, going 7 innings, giving up 6 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned. Here's a first pitch slap that goes just beyond the reach of Allison Ducey, but picked up there by Arolee Bogar right next to second base, and she flips it over to Denali Lecker for the out. Number 1 on Riley Scott. 1 gone in Purdue's bottom of the first inning. Ducey with the win in the first game yesterday. Struck out 13, walking 2 batters. She's now 3-3 coming into today's game. And that brings up Rachel Becker. Becker 4 for 11 on the weekend. She in the second second of the batters lineup for Purdue. She did it yesterday in game number 2 as head coach Boo D'Oliviero moved Riley Scott from the number 9 spot to the number 1 spot and moved Becker down, and it seemed to be productive for them. And as they won game 2 yesterday, here's a 1-0 pitch that hits that outside corner, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike on Rachel Becker. Becker, the leading hitter, not only on the Purdue Boilermaker team, but in the Big Ten through the first 12 games, coming into the weekend with 19 hits. Here is the 1-1 that's down and in on her. 19 hits and 38 at-bats. She now has moved that to 23 hits and 49 at-bats, so she's just under the 500 mark. But again, leading the Big Ten in batting. Becker, a junior out of Lindenhurst, Illinois. Here's the 2-1 that hits that outside corner, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on Rachel Becker. Cora Bassett on deck. We know what Bassett did in game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday when Iowa had the 5-0 lead. Bassett cranked a 3-run home run to make it 5-3. Iowa would end up winning game number 1, 5-3, but not without some intense moments. Here's a hit right up the middle that goes out of the reach of the diving Arrolee Becker, and it's in right center field. And as Brody Klosterman gets over to pick it up, Rachel Becker racing around first all the way to second base with a double. And the Purdue Boilermakers in business once again. 1 out, Rachel Becker just with a double. That is on the weekend for Becker. That is her third double of the weekend. She had one in the first game on Monday, one in game 1 of yesterday's doubleheader. Here's one that's hit right over the top of Grace Baines. Becker racing around third base. Here comes the throw, cut off by Grace Baines to keep Cora Bassett from going to second base and being in a scoring position. They give up the run to Rachel Becker on the single by Cora Bassett. And Purdue already up 1-0 here in the bottom of the first inning. Cora Bassett was 2 for 5 yesterday. In game number 2, she was 3 for 9 in the doubleheader. 3 for 11 coming into game number 4 today, and she promptly delivers with an RBI single out to left field. The Hawks did a nice job, though, defensively to not try to get the run and lose the run, not only lose the run at the plate with no play, but that would give up Cora Bassett heading to second base and being in scoring position and no force allowed. Roddy Platusik heads into the batter's box, the number 4 hitter for the Purdue Boilermakers. Platusik 4 out of 12 on the weekend, 2 for 6 in yesterday's 12-inning affair. She had an RBI hit in that game when Purdue loaded up the bases in that bottom of the 12th inning with nobody out, and they just took it 1 hit at a time in that 12th. It was Becca Jones that lined up at second base. She was moved by Riley Scott. A walk to Rachel Becker, a base hit by Cora Bassett. Platusik would fly out, but that would score a run. That was her RBI. And then the base hit by Kylie Goff out to left field scored the second run of the inning. That was Riley Scott. And that was the 5th run of the game and the win for the Purdue Boilermakers. Right now, Platusik has a 2-2 count on her. Purdue leading 1-0 here in the bottom of the first, hitting against Allison Ducey. Here's a steal attempt. Oh, they're going to call her out. It was a nice throw by Marissa Peak to get Cora Bassett at second base. The throw to Grace Baines is the second out of the inning. And for Marissa Peak, that is 2 out of 9 in catching potential stealers. Here is then Platusik's hit that's popped up to the infield, caught by Grace Baines. So the Hawks stop the Purdue Boilermakers in its tracks, but Purdue does pick up a run on the double by Rachel Baker, and followed that with a single by Cora Bassett, who scored Rachel Baker, lead it 1-0 as we head into the top of the second inning. It'll be Kalana Burns, Ashley Hamilton, and Erilee Bogar for the Hawks when play resumes. So we head into the top of the second inning, and it'll be Kalana Burns stepping to the plate. And here is a line drive right to Sydney Bates at first base. Good connection by Kalana Burns, but a line drive that was right at the first baseman, Sydney Bates. Now we talk about Bates. She also does pitching. She went 6 1/3 innings yesterday in game number 2 of the 12-inning affair with the Hawks, giving up 5 hits and 2 runs, but she also plays in the field. One gone is Ashley Hamilton playing third base in this game. Ashley really having a nice weekend for Iowa. She didn't play in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday, but was 1 for 3 with a run scored in game number 1. And in the first game on Friday, she was 2 for 4. So she has 3 hits on the weekend. Here's a pitch that's inside to her as she dribbles down the first base line right to Sydney Bates. And she has a put out with an unassisted stat on it. And it brings up Erilee Bogar. Erilee, the senior out of Trophy Club, Texas. Bogar 1 for 9 on the weekend, batting in the number 7 spot today. 2 outs in Iowa's top of the second. Purdue leads it 1-0. Savannah Henley in the circle for the Boilermakers. Bogar looks to bunt it, but pulls the bat back, seeing that pitch is going to the outside. So it's 1 ball and no strikes on the senior from Trophy Club, Texas. Here's the 1-0 pitch that's inside. So now it's 2 balls and no strikes. Erilee's, she did have a hit. Her hit in this weekend came in the second game of that doubleheader yesterday. She scored a run as well. Her only other hit prior to game number 1 yesterday of the doubleheader was back against Penn State on March 11 in that second game of that doubleheader, in which the Iowa Hawkeyes would win in 8 innings. And it was here's the 3-0 pitch to her. Now it's 3 balls and 1 strike to the senior. Here's the 3-1 from Savannah Henley. It's a pitch that's down and in. Erilee draws a walk. So with 2 outs, Erilee Bogar draws a 2-out walk. And for Henley, she walked 2 in game number 1 of the doubleheader yesterday. So that is Base on balls number 12 on the season for her. And with 2 outs and Arely Bogar at first, Marissa Peak steps to the batter's box and look at a pitch from Savannah Henley that's high and inside on her. So 1 ball and no strikes. Kylie Goff coming out now to talk to the freshman pitcher, the left-handed freshman pitcher. Marissa Peak coming into today's game with a .217 batting average, 5 hits and 23 at-bats. 2 for 5 on the weekend. Here's the offering to her, and it's a pitch that's out and away. Goff rips a throw down to first base, trying to get Arely Bogar, but too clever, and she's back at first base. 2 balls and no strikes on the freshman, Marissa Peak, out of Wentzville, Missouri, suburb of St. Louis. Here's the 2-0, a pitch that she rips out into left center field, and it's over the head of Riley Scott. Around second into third is Arely Bogar getting the heave home from head coach Renee Gillespie, and Arely Bogar slides in safely on the single by Marissa Peak. Great piece of base running and coaching and hitting, all in the sequence of 1 at bat. I believe they'll give Marissa Peak a double on that because it was in the left center field gap for Marissa Peak, but an RBI hit for her nonetheless, and that ties the score at 1 run apiece. It brings up Bridie Klosterman with 2 outs. This is happening. Bridie Klosterman comes into today's game with a 5 for 8 batting average, 5 for 8 hitting batting average this weekend. And she hit the number 9 hitter. Can't look past her whatsoever, the freshman out of North Liberty. Marissa Peak doing a nice job of delivering an RBI double to score Arely Bogar here with 2 outs in the top of the second. Here's one that Bridie Klosterman will just dribble to second base, and Emily Cox racing in to get it, picks it, and quickly hops it over to first baseman Sydney Bates to get Bridie Klosterman at a half step before a single. But nevertheless, the Hawkeyes even the score at 1 apiece as Arely Bogar drew a walk and was doubled home by Marissa Peak in the next at-bat, and Bridie Klosterman just ends the inning. 1-1 as we head into the bottom of the second inning. Kylie Goff, the freshman catcher, the number 5 hitter for Purdue, will lead it off. In other sports news at the University of Iowa, the baseball team won 2 games yesterday. They defeated Ohio State 5-1 in the second game of the 2-game series with Ohio State. So they split with Ohio State. Game 1 was on Friday, in which they lost 8-2. And then the Hawks defeated Maryland 6-4, getting a 2-run home run from Peyton Williams in the top of the 7th inning. To win it, take the lead and to win it, Ben Norman also with a home run for the Hawks. Today the Hawks facing Maryland. Again, that game is in progress, and at last report, Iowa led 2-1 in the bottom of the 3rd inning. That's Iowa baseball playing in Columbus, Ohio this weekend. 2 games against Ohio State, 2 games against the University of Maryland. So stepping into the batter's box is the freshman Kylie Goff. Here's the first pitch to her that she rips between Ashley Hamilton and Grace Baines for a single. Well, they're teeing off on Allison Ducey. That's the 3rd hit already against Deuce this weekend. Goff was just 1 for 10, but that base hit yesterday was the walk-off single that scored the 5th run and the decisive run in that 5-4 win for the Purdue Boilermakers in that Game 2 of the doubleheader. So that'll bring up Alex Echezarreta. Now, Echezarreta really having quite a weekend, 3 for 8 coming into today's game. She was 3 for 5 yesterday in game number 2 alone. Now, she also has pitched this weekend. She pitched 1 2/3 innings in the first game yesterday. She took the loss and is 0 for 2, did not play in game 1. Actually, she pinch hit, I believe, in game number 1. Played first base, as a matter of fact. Was 0 for 2 with a walk in game number 1, a game that the Hawkeyes won. Here she's up in the count at 2 balls and no strikes. Here's the 2-0 from Allison Ducey, a pitch that's up and away. Allison just not on target at the moment, but she certainly will be. Iowa baseball continues to lead Maryland 2-1. That's game now in the top of the 6th. Here's the 3-0 pitch that's right down the middle, and it is strike 1. So 2-1, the Hawks leading the University of Maryland, the top of the 6th inning. Here's Echezarreta ripping one down the third base line, but foul. Iowa, the home team in this game today. Again, it's the 4th game of the 4 games this weekend that the Hawks playing. Played Ohio State twice, split with them. Beat Maryland in the first game of the 2-game series with the Maryland Terrapins. And playing Maryland here for the second time. Here's one that's lifted down the right field line. Nia Carter can't get to it. It drops foul. So it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. On Alex Echezarreta, junior from Reston, Virginia. And a little delay in the action now. Echezarreta stepping back into the right-handed batter's box, awaiting the pitch from the senior Allison Ducey for the Hawks. Here it is from Allison Ducey. And it is now a pitch that Echezarreta hits right out to Nia Carter on the line drive. Tries to double up the runner at first base in Kylie Goff and does so. It was a line shot out to Nia Carter. She comes in on, makes the catch, and immediately throws to first base to get Kylie Goff, that is, straight off a little bit too far. It was a very close play, but certainly an out it was. And that'll bring up Caitlin Brandstrom. Brandstrom 2 for 5 in game 2 of the doubleheader yesterday, 0 for 3 in game 1. Here's one that she lifts out into the outfield and is pushing Bridie Klosterman back to the warning track. She catches it and bounds into the wall, comes off the wall with a huge smile on her face for making that catch. She caught it one stride before the wall and makes the out on the long drive to dead center field by Caitlin Brunson. 3 up, 3 down after yielding a base hit to Kylie Goff, a double play, and now a fly out to center field ends the Purdue bottom of the 2nd inning. When the Hawks come to the plate, it'll be the top of the order. Nia Carter, Riley Sheehy, and Grace Baines tied at 1s going into the top of the 3rd inning. Men's golf team is in action on Monday. They are flying or probably have arrived in Florida at Naples to take on the University of Florida. This men's golf team did an excellent job 2 weekends ago in claiming the Spartan Collegiate Championship in South Carolina. Sophomore Mac McClear was the individual medalist, a 206 total. He shot a final round 7 under 65 to win it and was the Big Ten Golfer of the Week. The women are at the Chattanooga Classic in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That begins tomorrow. It's tomorrow and Tuesday. That's University of Iowa women's and men's golf. So the Hawks come to the plate. Nia Carter, she singled in her first at-bat. It was a bunt single nonetheless. 4 for 11. Now she's 5 for 12 on the weekend. Just a very steady performer. Hits the ball well, plays the right field nicely. Here's the first pitch from Savannah Henley, and Henley throws a little blooper a little high. So it's 1 ball and no strikes on Nia Carter. Nia, in that, scored the run for the Hawks in the 12th inning. Iowa did leave a runner at third. Unfortunately, Purdue was able to score 2 in the bottom of the 12th to tie and take the lead to win it. Here's the 1-0 to Nia Carter that she'll hit right to shortstop Rachel Becker. Picks it right up and will throw out the speedy Carter. 1 gone here in the Hawkeye top of the 3rd inning. Tied at 1s, and it brings up Riley Sheehy. Sheehy, in her first at-bat, struck out. Coming into this game, 3 for 12 on the weekend. Here's the first pitch to her that's down and in on her. In yesterday's second game, the 12-inning game, she did have 1 hit. She was 1 for 5 with a strikeout. In the first game, she did not get a hit, but was walked once and struck out once. And she was 2 for 4 in game 1 with a run scored and an RBI. In the game on Friday, here's a pitch that dribbles across the plate, and she now up at the count of 2 balls and no strikes. In game 1, she started off in the first inning with a single, had scored on the double by Denali Lecker. She also got a single later in the game. Here's one that she bounces right back to the pitcher, Savannah Henley, who can't handle it when she gets it into her glove. It bounds to her left, so she has to take a couple of steps to get to it. And that allows Riley Sheehy to get on first on the error by the pitcher, Savannah Henley. So to bring up Grace Baines. Baines in her first at bat bounced out. She had it was a line drive shot, a hard shot down the third base line that Cora Bassett was able to contain and throw across the diamond for the out. Baines coming in today's game with 4 hits and 13 at bats. Here's a pitch that she lifts out to left field, and it drives back and hits the very top of the wall, but stays in fair play. And out there in left field to play it off the wall is Platusik. And what it does is it allows Riley Sheehy to score from first base on the double by Grace Baines. Beautiful hit by Baines. It probably was a foot from the top of the wall, but Platusik knew it was going to hit the wall, had to play it off of the wall. And in the meantime, Riley Sheehy's racing around second base to third base, getting the go-ahead, the wave home by head coach Renee Gillespie, and Grace Baines with another hit and an RBI for the Hawks. It brings up Denali Lecker. Here's a pitch that's up and in on her. Baines, as I'd mentioned, was 9 for 54 coming into today's game. That is her 6th RBI of the season. It is her 4th double on the season. Denali Lecker leads the team in doubles with 6, and she's at the plate right now. Nice play by Kansas City freshman Grace Baines to give the Hawks the 2-1 lead here in the top of the 3rd inning. Lecker at the plate, awaiting the pitch from Savannah Henley. With a runner on second and Grace Baines, here's a pitch that Lecker will foul off of the instep. Lecker pinch hit in game number 2 yesterday and promptly delivered a hit. She pinch hit for Briley Klosterman. That in the top of the 7th inning, she did single in a run. One of the 2 Iowa needed to in that 7th inning to tie, and Denali Lecker delivered with a base hit and an RBI. Here she's down to the count of the ball and 2 strikes. Here's the offering from Henley. Here's a rip between short and third base, and head coach Renee Gillespie giving the wave call but holding up. That's a nice piece of coaching there. You know, the indication was to wave, but she's telling her to hold. great bit of coaching. That made the throw come from left field down to the plate, and it allowed Denali Lecker to go to second base. And so with only one out, Iowa has runners at second and third, and Kalena Burns comes to the plate. And now Boo de Oliveira comes out to talk to the infield. I was going to wonder how long she was going to allow Savannah Henley to go and continue to get clubbed like she is before she made a move. My guess is she would take Ashley Peters and put her in the circle. Sydney Bates is also a prospect for pitching. Great work by Denali Lecker to get a base hit here. Iowa now with 2 hits in this inning. Riley Sheehy got on the error by the pitcher. That was followed by a double by Grace Baines that scored Sheehy. Lecker now just with a single. Grace Baines held up at third. The throw from left field to home allowed Lecker to get to second base. So with one out, no force in play, it brings up Kalena Burns. Kalena Burns can deliver. Burns 4 for 11 on the weekend. She popped out to first base in her first at-bat. She was 3 for 4 in the game on Friday. Here's the first pitch to her, an off-speed pitch that hits that outside corner, and it's strike one. 3 for 4 on Friday with an RBI for Kalena Burns on Friday. She singled, and she popped out. Here's one that she'll dribble to the shortstop, Rachel Becker. She looks back to runner at third, and she fired it across the diamond to get Kalena Burns for the second out of the inning. Brings up Ashley Hamilton. Burns' RBI came in a 2-run 5th inning for the Hawks, where they went up 3-0. She singled, a long single, scoring Zoe Schulte, who was running for Lindy Milkowski, who had drawn a walk. Here's Ashley Hamilton at the plate. Here's the first pitch to her that's down and in. The Hawks still with runners at second and third. Denali Lecker at second, and Grace Baines is at third. 2 gone. Here's Hamilton. Ashley Hamilton. 1 for 3 in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. Here's a pitch that she lifts out into shallow center field. It's driving the center fielder back. She makes a diving effort to grab it and make the catch. That's Riley Scott. The wind is blowing in from out there, and so she had to play it. It was a hit that would have, on a normal day, been over her head, but she was able to dive and reach out there and make the catch to end the Hawks here in the top of the 3rd inning. But Iowa does get another run. Takes the lead at 2-1 as we head into the bottom of the 3rd inning. It'll be Emily Cox, the number 8 hitter, followed by number 9 hitter Sydney Bates, and then Riley Scott, the top of the order. So we head into the bottom of the 3rd inning. Iowa has scraped up a run in each of their last at-bats to take a 2-1 lead. Emily Cox will come to the plate. Here is the first pitch to her. Cox, coming into the game, or into the weekend, didn't have any stats, batting stats to speak of other than 6 of them. 0 for 3 in game number 2 yesterday of the doubleheader, in which Purdue won, and was 0 for 2. So 0 for 5 yesterday. Here's one that is a slow hopper to Ashley Hamilton. Does a nice job to fundamentally pick it up and zing it across the diamond to Denali Lecker for the first out of this bottom of the 3rd inning. So it'll bring up Sydney Bates. Bates, when she bats, only at a 45% average. She came in, she actually pitched yesterday. Did not play in game number 1. She pitched in the second game, and she pitched in game number 1 on Friday. So this is her first at-bat on the weekend. She has 22 at-bats and 1 hit only, that being a double, so does have some extra base hit ability. Bates, redshirt senior from Davie, Florida. Here's the 1-0 that she rips between Grace Baines and Ashley Hamilton. So she with a zinging single in the gap there. That's the 4th hit off of Allison Ducey here in this game. And again, I remind you that the weather, Friday's weather was in the early to mid-50s. Yesterday's weather was right around 70 and sunny. Today it's 42 degrees at game time, only going to get up to probably 46 by the time this game is over with a gusty wind, brisk wind out of the west-northwest at 20 miles an hour. So certainly it has a little bit of an effect on each of the players, but they're all dealing with it, how to play with it. And again, just a new day. So at the plate's top of the order, Riley Scott. Here she slaps one to shortstop to Grace Baines. They'll just get the force to Ariely Bogar, which definitely is good enough. And Riley Scott will be on by a fielder's choice. That makes her 0 for 2 on the day. Brings up Rachel Becker. Becker doubled in her last at-bat and scored on the single by Cora Bassett back in the first inning. Becker 4 for 11 coming into today's game, now 5 for 12. And I remind you that Rachel Becker leads the Big Ten in hitting coming into the weekend at 488. She's done nothing to disturb that average and looks at a pitch that's outside from Allison Ducey. Allison Ducey in her senior season. She did obviously pitch last year as well. Here's a pitch that's down and in. But Allison, moving up the national leaderboard, coming into the weekend was 6th in career complete games. That among active Division I players was 67. Now she's up to 68. 9th in innings pitched at 692, now over 700, or right at, no, she's just over 700 here. Here's a pitch that hits the outside corner, so it's strike 1. 2 balls and 1 strike. 10th in games started, now at 100. 12th in strikeouts. 666 after yesterday's first game of the doubleheader in which she struck out 13. Here's the 2-1 that's down and in on Becker. Doesn't want to give her anything good to hit. So it's 3 balls and 1 strike. So again, these are among active pitchers around Division I. She's put together quite a career at the University of Iowa. Here is the 3-1 to Rachel Becker, pitch that's up and away. So that'll move Riley Scott on to second. Becker goes to first after drawing the walk. Probably better than allowing Becker to hit the ball. She's going to get to first base. She's going to have to do it that way. It'll bring up Cora Bassett. Now Bassett, no easy task either. She 3 for 11 coming in to the weekend. Hit a 3-run home run in game number 1 of the doubleheader yesterday to close the gap to 5-3. Was 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs in game number 2 of the doubleheader yesterday. So a very capable hitter, and she delivered a single in her first at-bat today. Becker walked in that bottom of the 12th inning and was at second base when the single was hit by the freshman Kylie Goff to score Riley Scott from first to win that game for Purdue. No balls and 1 strike now on the sophomore third baseman Cora Bassett. Here's the pitch from Allison Ducey, a pitch that's down and away, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Cora Bassett is a sophomore from Newburgh, Indiana. not far from West Lafayette. Here is the offering. A pitch hits that outside corner, so it's strike two, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Coming into the weekend, Bassett 15 hits in 40 at-bats. So after the first 3 games, 18 hits and 51 at-bats. Still right around her average at 375. Batting third in the lineup the last 2 games as head coach Boo D'Oliviero moved Riley Scott to lead off, Rachel Becker second, and Bassett now at third. Here is the 1-2 pitch that's down and away. Bassett will not go chase it. Runners remain at first and second. Rachel Becker at first after drawing a walk, and Riley Scott at second on the fielder's choice. Iowa leads this game 2-1. We're in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Allison Ducey in the circle for the Hawks. Here is the 2-2 that is bounced right back to Allison, and she flips it over to Denali Lecker at first base, and that will end the Purdue Boilermaker bottom of the 3rd inning. Great defense by the Hawks as Purdue had 2 runners on, not able to get either of them across to tie or take the lead. So we go into the top of the 4th inning, and the Hawks lead this game 2-1. Arely Bogar, Marissa Peak, and Bradley Klosterman will be at the plate for the Hawks when we return to action. So we head into the top of the 4th inning. Hawks leading it 2-1. Arely Bogar, who walked and scored in her last at-bat, which was back in the top of the 2nd inning when Iowa tied the game at 1 apiece. Marissa Peak would follow that walk with a double that Arely Bogar would score from first base. Bogar's 2nd hit of the weekend. And she looks at a pitch that looked low, but umpire saw it as across the knees for a strike. Arely, a base-stealing threat, especially her first couple of years, where she at one point was 38 of 38. And here's a ball that's out and away. She was 19 for 19 in the stolen bases department back in 2018, 26 of 30 in her sophomore year, but I think she was had been up to 35 or 36 before she was caught for the first time. 4 for 6 last year in the pandemic shortened year. Here's a swing and a miss at an off-speed pitch. So it's 1 ball and 2 strikes, and she's 2 for 2 in the stolen bases department coming into today's game. Arely batting just 69, 2 of 29 at-bats, but she has scored 4 runs, so she can get on base. She's definitely a threat to score. She moves around the base paths gracefully. Here's a pitch that's outside, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on the senior from Trophy Club, Texas. In last year's season, pandemic-ended season, she had started and played in all 21 games with a .253 average. Here's a pitch that's inside. She gets around on and will hit it down the first baseline. She had 5 multi-hit games last year. 4 of them were 2-hit games. 6 multi-hit games, 4 2-hit games, and 3 3-hit games before that season came to an abrupt halt. Here is the 2-2 that Arely takes a swing at and misses, and she's down on strikes. That just the 2nd strikeout of the game for Savannah Henley, and it's the first out of the top of the 4th inning. It brings up Marissa Peak, Marissa Peak, freshman from Wentzville, Missouri, doubled in her last at-bat, scoring Arely Bogar from first base. That tied the score at 1 back in the top of the second inning. Marissa Peak having quite a weekend. Here's the first pitch from Savannah Henley that's down and away. Peak 2 for 5 on the weekend. She caught in game number 2 yesterday, didn't play in the first game, and did not play in the game on Friday. So her first action was in the second game of the doubleheader, game number 3 in the 4-game series, that yesterday, and she went 2 for 5. Here's a pitch that's an off-speed pitch that's strike 1. And in that game, Marissa hit a home run, a solo home run. The Hawks needed 2 in the top of the 7th inning to tie, and Marissa Peak started that top of the 7th inning with a solo home run. The Hawks would get their second run as Avery Guy would score from second on a base hit by Briley Klosterman. Here is a pitch that Peak will lift down the left field line. Is drifting foul. It falls fair. The left fielder unable to judge it accurately, and Marissa Peak around first and already at second base. Marissa gets a double, her second double of the game. This one was a high pop fly down the left field line, which would seemingly be an easy play by the left fielder out there, Riley Platusik, but the wind plays havoc. It's blowing 20 miles an hour, and it's blowing from right to left as you watch the screen, and so it can cause judgmental problems by the outfielders, and that's exactly what happened. So for Marissa Peak, her second double of the season, both of them right here in this game. She on second, 1 out. Briley Klosterman at the plate. Here's one that she hits to second base, and Emily Cox will scoop it and lightly toss it over to Sydney Bates at first base. And so the Hawks have 2 gone in the top of the top of the 4th inning. Peak does move to third base, and it brings up the top of the order, and Nia Carter. Boo D'Oliviero is walking out to the circle as they're going to talk about some strategy here against Nia Carter, who can do multiple things at the plate. Wouldn't be surprised if she even tries to bunt to get on. I don't know that that would score Marissa Peak from third base. I guess it all depends on where that bunt would go to. But she also can hit at the plate too. Slap hitter. She can place it most anywhere in the field. So Boo D'Oliviero, the 4th-year head coach for the Purdue Boilermakers, out there discussing things with Savannah Henley. Again, Henley threw yesterday. She relieved Alex Echezarreta in the second inning and went on to pitch 5 and a third inning. She didn't take the loss. She did give up 3 hits, 2 runs, and an earned run. Iowa already had 3 by then and was in the lead. They never relinquished the lead. That would change the 1-loss mark to Savannah Henley. So Henley did get some time in the circle yesterday, 5.1 innings, and got a no decision out of that. Echezarreta took the loss in that 5-3 loss. Here is Nia Carter. They're going to walk her intentionally. So with a runner at third and Marissa Peak, they're going to take their chances with Riley Sheehy instead of Nia Carter. Savannah Henley now. Here's the second pitch of the intentional walk sequence. And it's ball 2. We're in the top of the 4th inning. Iowa leads it 2-1. Marissa Peak started the inning off with her second double of the day and then was moved to third on the ground out by Briley Klosterman. And so here's the 4th pitch, ball 4 to Nia Carter. That'll send Nia Carter down to first base, so runners at the corners. And it looks to me like the Hawks are going to pinch hit. Perhaps. Renee Gillespie down the third base line now talking to the home plate umpire. Trina Prater, they're discussing what they want to do. Gives us a chance to talk about the assistant coaching that Renee Gillespie has. Rick Dillinger, who was her high school coach, was talked into coming out of retirement 3 years ago and become an assistant coach for the Hawks. And Trina Prater, who was an All-American softball player at LSU, is on this coaching staff. And then they have a volunteer assistant for the Hawks. And that is Erin Dowd Johnson in her second season. Just a volunteer assistant coach. Matt Meyer, the director of operations of University of Iowa softball, in his first season. So now they're making some changes. So it looks like Marissa Peak is going to be moved. She's going to be pinch run for by Amber DeCenta. Amber DeCenta will pinch run here in the top of the fourth inning. Hawks looking to try to advance. Pinch hitting for Riley Sheehy is Zoe Schulte. Zoe Schulte getting an at-bat here in the top of the fourth inning for Riley Sheehy. Down to the count at no balls and one strike. So actually, here's the pitch from Henley. That's grounded. I think she's going to beat it out. Nice play by Schulte, and the Hawks get 2 runs. How about that? Nia Carter had gone down to second base, and on the throw to first, which was late, to get Zoe Schulte, who beat it out. Nia Carter racing around third base on the send home by Renee Gillespie. Scores 2. Iowa leads at 4-1. All right, so the Hawks now up 4-1, have a runner at second base in Zoe Schulte, playing left field. And now we've got Grace Baines at the plate with the Hawks leading 4-1 and 2 outs. So Hawks have been able to do this with 2 outs in 2 different innings. They had 2 outs in their top of the third inning when they were able to get a run to take the 2-1 lead. And now in the top of the fourth inning, they've been able to they got 2 outs. They scored a run in between the outs and now have a 4-1 lead. Here's Grace Baines. She'll ground to Rachel Becker. Can't handle the hop. And beating the throw out is Grace Baines. We'll see if that's an error or not. That does move Schulte to third base. They're going to rule it an error on Rachel Becker. They call it a routine grounder. She had to go to her right to backhand it. So Grace Baines, no matter what, is on first base. Teammate Zoe Schulte is at third base, and it brings up Denali Lecker. Lecker 1 for 2 on the day. She singled in her last at-bat. And Lecker coming into the weekend, 3 for 8. She was 1 for 3 in game 1 yesterday of the doubleheader. 1 for 1 in the second game, so she had singles. Here's a rip down the third base line, and is it fair? Oh, they call it foul. It looked like it bounced right over top of third base. The home plate umpire right on it, calling it foul. If that's fair, boy, that's danger for the Purdue Boilermakers. And some fun base running for the Iowa Hawkeyes if they could have gotten there, but it is ruled a foul ball. So it's no balls and 1 strike on Denali Lecker, the freshman out of Ogden. In the game on Friday, Lecker was 1 for 4, so she has a hit in every game this weekend. Here's one that she rips out into right center field. It gets past the center fielder, Scott. And coming in to score from second base, Baines. So that's a 2-run double for Denali Lecker. And the Hawks now blowing this game open and a lead at 6-1 as Zoe Schulte scored in front of Grace Baines. So Iowa with 4 runs here in this a 4-run inning. Iowa with a 6-1 lead at the top of the 4th inning. Been able to cut loose here in the top of the 4th. Denali Lecker doing it again at the plate. Got a great pitch to hit. And she blasted into right center field. So Purdue going to make a pitching change. Savannah Henley will depart. She'll be responsible for Denali Lecker at second base. There are 2 outs. So I should add to you that Zoe Schulte came in for Riley Sheehy. She, if you remember, took a foul ball off of her right shin in her first at-bat and was removed from the game. Zoe Schulte gone in to replace her. So it was Zoe that has scored 2 runs here in this game for the Hawks. And as one of the 4 that have scored here in this top of the 4th inning. And there'll be a runner at second base when play resumes. I believe they got Ashley Peters coming in to throw for Savannah Henley. Hawks got to Henley in every inning. Well, it caused some discrepancy of whether or not Henley gave up 6 hits or 5 hits. But Ashley Peters has come in the top of this 4th inning with 2 outs. Iowa, again, doing it with 2 outs at the plate. Here's the 1-0 that's called strike 1 on that outside corner to Kalena Burns. Burns has flown out and grounded out, but coming into the game today, 4 for 11 in the series. She was 3 for 4 on Friday. And it's a 1-1 count on. Here's a pitch that's down and in. Ashley Peters, a left-hander, coming in for Savannah Henley. Ashley Peters threw 5 2/3 innings yesterday in the 5-4 win in 12 innings. She gave up 6 hits, 2 runs. She had 4 strikeouts in facing 23 batters. Here's Burns with a foul on the right field line. Peters also pitched in game number 1 on Friday in relief of Sydney Bates. Ashley went 4 innings, 8 hits, gave up a run. It was earned, and she did not take the loss because the Hawks had the lead the entire time. So Peters has pitched 9 2/3 innings this weekend and given up 14 hits and 3 runs. So on her season, she's at 30 innings, 28. She's given up 38 hits with the 14 in 2 games. Here's a ground ball that Burns will hit to second base. Cox will pick it up and end the inning that the Hawks get 4 runs in, and those are 4 very important runs. Iowa leading this series at 2-1 after dropping the second game of the doubleheader yesterday, needing to take this win with momentum into next weekend's series with the Indiana Hoosiers and take a 3-1 series win home to Iowa City from West Lafayette with the win today. Leading at 5-1, we'll head into the bottom of the 4th inning. So Allison Ducey remains in the circle for the Hawks. Try to get her another complete game. Ducey with a 1.29 ERA already has 4 complete games on the season as she pitched game number 2. The first game of the doubleheader yesterday went 7 innings. 38 innings pitched. Sarah Lehman leads the Hawks with 46 innings pitched. Already has won 2 games here this weekend. Actually, she took the loss yesterday in that doubleheader. Here's the first pitch that is swung on and hit to third baseman Ashley Hamilton by Riley Platusik. And Platusik is 1 pitch and a ground out. 1 gone in the bottom of the 4th inning. Purdue scored a run in the bottom of the 1st. You know, they built a lot of momentum in that second game of the doubleheader yesterday when they got off to a 1-0 lead, made it 2-0 in the bottom of the 5th inning, and they were really hitting the ball well. They had a total of 15 hits in the 12 innings. They scored 1 in the bottom of the 11th and scored 2 in the bottom of the 12th to win it. And I thought they really were getting ahead of steam at the plate. And they started that today in the first inning. But since then, Allison Ducey has been able to shut them down. Kylie Goff, who grounded out to third in her last at-bat. Actually, she singled and then was forced on a double play after a flyout by Alex Echezarreta. She was doubled up at first base. So she 1 for 1 on the day here in the bottom of the 4th inning. The freshman catcher from West Lafayette, Indiana. Here's a pitch that's up and away from her. So it's 1 ball and 1 strike. After this weekend, the Hawks will be at home. Their home opening weekend series next weekend, hosting the Indiana Hoosiers. Those game times, 3 o'clock next Friday, 1 o'clock on Saturday, 3:30 on Saturday, and then on Easter Sunday, that game doesn't start until 3. Here is the 1-1 that's up and away to Kylie Goff. So again, on Easter weekend next weekend, Good Friday, Iowa, Indiana, in Iowa City at Bob Pearl Field, 3 o'clock first pitch time. The doubleheader on Saturday is 1 o'clock and approximately 3:30, and then Easter Sunday's finale, the 4th game with Indiana, is a 3 o'clock start time. Iowa, Indiana next weekend. Here is a pitch that's popped up into the infield, and drifting back to shallow left is Ariely Bogar making the catch, and 2 gone in Purdue's bottom of the 4th inning. Iowa leads at 5-1. The Hawks plated 6-1. Alex Echezarreta stepping into the plate, flew out to Nia Carter in her first at-bat, a line drive that Carter was able to double off Goff on first base. And here's the 1-0 from the senior Allison Ducey. Pitch that's down and away from Echezarreta. She likes that pitch there. Not quite sure why Allison wants to go down there. But she is. That's where Echezarreta hit that line drive out to Nia Carter. Here is the 2-0. Echezarreta gets around 1 and rips it down the left field line. Showing some power is Echezarreta. Echezarreta was 3 for 5 in yesterday's doubleheader and second game of the doubleheader. She 3 for 8 for the series coming in. Had an RBI. Here is the 2-1 to Alex Echezarreta that's down and in on her. Her RBI came in it came in the bottom of the 11th inning when she doubled in Kylie Goff. Here's the 3-1 that now becomes 3 balls and 2 strikes on Echezarreta. Also serves as a pitcher. Boo D'Oliviero letting her pitchers also play in the field and get to the plate and hit. Each is different. I don't know that Allison Ducey has ever made a plate appearance. Well, she has, as a matter of fact. Here's a pitch, and it's a strikeout. So for Allison Ducey, after striking out 13 in game one of the doubleheader yesterday. She gets but her first one here today. And it ends the Boilermakers in the bottom of the fourth inning. We'll go into the top of the fifth. Iowa leads this game 6-1. Ashley Hamilton will get things started for the Hawks when play resumes. Big Ten softball action this weekend. Minnesota has beaten Illinois 3 times. They'll finish off today. Ohio State has beaten Maryland twice, splitting yesterday. Michigan has beaten Indiana 3 times, giving up 1 run in each of those games, the Wolverines. Northwestern has beaten Wisconsin 3 times, taking the doubleheader yesterday. Rutgers won game 1 on Friday against Michigan State 3-2. The Spartans come back to take the doubleheader yesterday 4-3 and 10-3. And the Nebraska Cornhuskers steamrolling Penn State 9-0 in 5, 8-2, and 10-2 in 5 innings. So the Big Ten standings coming into today's game: Northwestern with a 14-1 record, Minnesota in second at 13-3, Michigan in third at 12-3, Illinois in fourth at 10-5, and then it's Iowa and Nebraska tied for fifth with 9-6 records. Tied for fifth, and Iowa was picked to finish fifth in the Big Ten this year and also selected as a regional final team. With this returning experience and the talent that head coach Renee Gillespie and her staff have recruited to Iowa City, and they're playing well. They're going to make some noise in the Big Ten this year. Ashley Hamilton steps to the plate, the lanky left-hander from Cedar Rapids, prepping at Kennedy High School. Hamilton didn't play in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday, 1 for 3 in game 1, and she was 2 for 4 in Friday's game. Fouls this one back, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. In the pandemic-shortened season last year, Ashley played 14 games, starting 6 of them, had a 167 average. 3 hits and 18 at-bats, had a couple of doubles, so she's capable. I remember when we went out to Rutgers a couple of years ago, she had 2 game-winning hits in that 2-3 sweep of the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Here she fouls another one away. So it's 3 balls and 2 strikes on Ashley Hamilton, playing third base. So Purdue has made a switch. Here's Ashley Hamilton hitting one out to left field and making a shoe-top catch. Out there is Riley Platusik. She played it nicely. She was shallow enough. She took a step in, and she had to reach down and catch that one off of her shoe tops. Otherwise, Ashley Hamilton may be still running. So it's 1 out here in the Hawkeye top of the 5th inning, and it'll bring up Arely Bogar, senior out of Trophy Club, Texas. Arely struck out in their last at-bat. She walked and scored in her first at-bat back in the top of the 2nd inning. She was chased home by the double by Marissa Peak. She's up in the count here, 1 ball and no strikes. Here is the pitch to her. It's down and away, so it's 2 balls and no strikes on Arely Bogar, batting just a 69 average. She has 2 hits and 29 at-bats coming in to today's game. She now has a walk and a strikeout, and now here's a pitch that's up and away, and Peters will have a conversation with Kylie Goff, get their communications squared away. And so Arely Bogar will step back into the left-handed batter's box. 1 out in Iowa's top of the 5th. Hawks leading at 5-1. Here is the pitch from Peters, one that Arely Bogar gets around on. She'll foul it into the backstop. So it becomes 3 balls and 2 strikes on the senior second baseman. Played shortstop in her freshman year, 2018. Started all 46 games. had 43 hits. That's when she was 20 for 20 in the stolen bases department. Then she was moved to second base, her natural position, in 2019, and that's where she's been ever since. She fouls off yet another pitch. Full count at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Here it is from Peters. Here's one that airily rips down the left field line. Just foul. She's doing well on that outside pitch, going with it, stroking it down the left side, but they've been foul. So she remains at the plate. Got a little bit of sunshine going on at Remington Stadium at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. Iowa leads at 5-1. We're in the top of the 5th inning. Iowa scored 4 times, leads 6-1. Iowa scored 4 times in the top of the 4th inning. Here's a ground ball hit right to Rachel Becker and across the diamond to get the speedy Airly Bogar racing down the first base line. So we got 2 outs in Iowa's top of the 5th inning. That'll bring up Marissa Peak. Peak having quite a day. She's doubled twice, scored the first of the 4 runs in the top of the 4th inning. And coming into today's game, 2 for 5 on the weekend, so she's 4 for 7. Here's a pitch that hits that outside corner, and it does not, as though it's ball 1. So Marissa Peak, freshman out of Wentzville, Missouri, behind the plate today for head coach Renee Gillespie. Here is the 1-0 that's down and away, so it's 2 balls and no strikes. Peak again in that second game of the doubleheader yesterday. Hit a solo home run at the top of the 7th inning. Hawks needed 2 to tie, and they got them both. Peak started that off with a solo home run over the left field wall. Here's the 2-0 that's called strike 1 on the outside corner. That was followed up by Airly Bogar getting on base on an error. She was doubled up at second. Avery Guy came in to run for, or got a base hit, got on. Here's one that Peak will bounce to Sydney Bates, and it bounces just over the top of Bates' glove. She was right even with first base, looking to field it. Not quite sure if they're going to make it an error or if that was a base hit. We'll find out. I think Bates got a glove on it, but it took a squirrely hop away from Sydney Bates. That'll bring up Riley Klosterman. Peak, tough out here today for the Purdue Boilermakers. That is ruled an error on Sydney Bates. So for Purdue today, that's 2, that's 3 errors by the Boilermakers here today. Here's a hot shot to shortstop Rachel Becker off the bat of Brodie Klosterman. She scoops it, a sweeping scoop, throws it across the diamond to Sydney Bates for the 3rd out. So the Hawks get a runner on, can't move her, but still take a 6-1 lead into the bottom of the 5th inning. And when we get there, it'll be Caitlin Brandstrom, Emily Cox, and Sydney Bates, 7, 8, and 9 hitters for the Boilermakers in the bottom of the 5th inning. The University of Iowa women's gymnastics team is in the Tuscaloosa Regional next weekend. Their first session will feature them against Alabama, Arkansas, and Iowa State. The second session next Saturday will feature Iowa, Oklahoma, Auburn, and Missouri. The top 2 teams in each of those sessions will move on to the regional final. They're all performing for the chance to make it to the Nationals on April 16 and 17 in Fort Worth. University of Iowa women's basketball had its season end yesterday in a battle against the top-ranked and number 1 seeded UConn Huskies. They're as good as advertised, but Iowa played them well throughout most of the game, losing it 92-72. But I think the future is super bright for head coach Lisa Bluter and that Iowa women's basketball team. They got a lot of great young talent, if you will, and then she got some good recruits coming in the next year. things looking good for University of Iowa women's basketball, as is the men's basketball team that was beaten by Oregon last Monday in a second round of the NCAA basketball tournament. Congratulations to Luka Garza for his accomplishments, All-American 2 years in a row, becoming the all-time scoring leader at the University of Iowa. And, of course, we congratulate Jordan Bohannon for his play, his leadership for the Hawks in his 4 years of playing time for the Hawks. They'll get things started again next November with the 2021-22 season, college basketball season. Hopefully things will get back to normal. We can get some attendance back at Carver Hawkeye Arena and maybe have a sense of normalcy. What do you think of that idea? At the plate, Caitlin Brandstrom, 0-2 in the count. Here's one she'll lift down the third base left field line, and it goes foul. So Brandstrom will remain at the plate. Brandstrom coming into the series, just a 100 hitter. She was 2 for 5 yesterday in the win in that second game of the doubleheader. Here's a pitch that's down and in on her. She was 0 for 3 in game 1, and she pinch hit in the game on Friday and promptly delivered a hit. So she's got 3 hits on the weekend. And she's down on the count here at a ball and 2 strikes against the senior Allison Ducey. Ducey with the windup in the pitch. Here's a shot down the first base line right at the Hawkeye dugout. They got those big fences, big structures of fences, chain link fence in front of that dugout that stand on the ground. They're probably about 4 feet high. It's a sunken-in dugout. Really beautiful facility at Purdue University for their softball action. Here's the pitch that hits that outside corner, called strike 3. And for Allison Ducey, that is just her second strikeout of the day and then first out of the bottom of the 5th inning. Emily Cox will step to the batter's box. She grounded out in her first at-bat back in the 3rd inning. 0 for 3 in the second game yesterday, 0 for 2, so she was 0 for 5 in the doubleheader. She struck out 3 times. And those are her 2 games played. They got a pinch hitter in for Emily Cox. It is Kendall Chase. Kendall Chase is in and playing for Cox at second base. Here's the 1-0 delivery that's down and in, but she takes a swing at it and misses. Kendall Chase is now at second base and at the plate. Chase, in yesterday's doubleheader, did not play in game 2. She did pinch hit. She went 0 for 1. Here's one that's lifted out to right field just in front of Nia Carter, and it falls in for a single. So that is the 5th base hit off of Allison Ducey here today. It came off the bat of Kendall Chase. She played the designated player in game 1 yesterday, was 0 for 1, and she was 0 for 3 against the Hawks on Friday. So it's her first hit of the weekend for Kendall Chase, who was a 167 hitter coming in with only 1 hit and 6 at-bats. So she's now 2 out of 13, and it brings up the number 9 hitter, Sydney Bates. Bates, she singled in her first at-bat, was forced at second for the second out of the bottom of the 3rd inning. The number 9 hitter, so we get to the top of the order after Sydney Bates. 1 runner on. That is Kendall Chase, 1 out. Here's a pitch that hits it outside corner. Nice spot by Allison Ducey, finally getting her rhythm back to her. Bates pitched in yesterday's second game of the doubleheader. She started, went 6 1/3 innings. She also started the game on Friday, went 3 innings, and was relieved in both of those games. Here's a pitch outside, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Bates on the season as a hitter had only 1 hit in 22 at-bats coming in. Picked up her 2nd hit in her last at-bat. Up in the count here at 2-1 strike. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. Iowa leads 6-1. Here's a pitch from Bates. Gets a bounder, just gets by Allison Ducey. And right at second base where Arely Bogar's there to glove it, step on second, fire it to first base to Denali Lecker, and the Hawks and the Purdue Boilermakers on a double play here in the bottom of the 5th inning. We'll go into the top of the 6th. It'll be the leadoff hitter, Nia Carter, for the Hawks when play resumes. Iowa leads 6-1. Well, the University of Iowa track and field teams performed very well at the Big Ten Invitational number 1 yesterday in Bloomington, Indiana. On the men's side, James Carter second in the long jump. Zach Plouffe was second in the high jump. Tyler Lanau second in the hammer throw. Jordan Johnson won the discus with 189.05. Jamal Britt won the 100 hurdles in 13.68. Britt also was third in the 200 at 21.22. Julian Gillum second in the 400. Drake Woody seventh in the 400 hurdles. Spencer Goodgel was won the 800 to 152.96. Tyson Vandroska won the 1500 in 3 minutes 47.81 seconds. The 4x1 relay team, Iowa finished second. And in the 4x4, the 4x400 meter relay team of Nolan Kemble, Drake Woody, Julian Gillum, and Tyler Olson won it in 3 minutes 10.9 seconds. I'll get you the women's results in between these at bats for the Hawks. Nia Carter flies out to center field to begin the top of the 6th inning. And it brings up Zoe Schulte. Zoe replacing Riley Sheehy, who struck out in her first at bat, but also took a foul ball off her instep, her right shin. And so head coach Renee Gillespie pulls her, puts in Zoe Schulte. Zoe Schulte got on base on an error in the 3rd inning and scored, and she singled in her last at-bat and scored then too, one of the 4 that were scored in the top of the 4th inning. Here's a ground out to second base. So quickly the Hawks have 2 gone in the top of the 6th inning. It'll bring up Grace Baines. Grace Baines, a 167 hitter coming into today's game, 9 of 54, and she has promptly 1 for 2, 1 for 3 actually, and has scored a run. She had an RBI double in the 3rd inning, scoring Zoe Schulte. Baines then got on an error, which continued that top of the 4th inning for the Hawks to get their 4 runs. She's up in the count at 2 balls and no strikes. Freshman from Kansas City, Kansas, prepping at Piper High School. Had 5 hits coming into the weekend. She's having herself quite a weekend. Here's Baines. Here she'll look at a 3-0 pitch that's strike 1. Ashley Peters in the circle for the Purdue Boilermakers in relief of Savannah Henley. Henley, the freshman. Here is the 3-1 that's down and away, so it's ball 4. So with 2 outs, Grace Baines draws a walk. Now remember, Hawks fans, Iowa has done this, has scored their runs with 2 outs. They did it in the 2nd inning with 1. In the 3rd inning, they scored a run with 1 out, and in the 4th inning, they scored all 4 runs with 2 outs. So until you get them out 3 times in an at-bat, they're always dangerous. Here's a lift out to left field, and is it going over the wall? It is. Denali Lecker levels one, gets the fat part of the bat around, and nails a home run for the Hawks, and it's a 2-run home run for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and for Denali Lecker, it's her first home run as an Iowa Hawkeye. This freshman from Ogden crushes a pitch that was right down the middle of the plate, and Denali Lecker delivers. Denali, 3 for 3 today. 2 more RBIs there. She's actually 3 for 4. She grounded out in her first at-bat, and that'll bring up Kalena Burns. Burns will promptly fly out to right field. And remember, folks, the Hawks have scored their runs with 2 outs. They did it here again on a 2-run home run by Denali Lecker. Going into the bottom of the 6th inning, the Hawks will take an 8-1 lead over the Purdue Boilermakers. So Purdue with a mountain to climb here to get back into this softball game and give themselves a chance to win. We'll send the top of the order to the plate here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Riley Scott will lead it off. She is 0 for 2 on the day. She got on a fielder's choice in her last at-bat and was stranded at second. Here's one that she hits right at Ashley Hamilton, a line drive. And Ashley at 5'10" with a long reach had to lightly jump up but reach for and snag the line drive for the first out. That'll bring up Rachel Becker, the dangerous Rachel Becker. She is 1 for 1. She drew a walk in her last at-bat and was stranded at first base, and she doubled in her first at-bat. For Becker, it's her 3rd double of the weekend. And coming into the weekend, she had 5 doubles, so she's up to 8. I believe she leads the Big Ten with 8 doubles. Denali Lecker also was in the top 5 for doubles for the Hawks. Lecker just delivered a 2-run home run in her last at-bat, 3 for 4 on the day. Here's a pitch that's down and in on Rachel Becker, so it is 1 ball and 1 strike. Allison Ducey getting tremendous support from her teammates at the plate, getting some good defense in the outfield too, but also throwing some tremendous pitches. Have only struck out 2 batters here today. She had 13 in game 1 yesterday. Here's the 1-1 to Rachel Becker that's down and in on her. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. If Iowa can end up winning this game, they'll take a 3-1 series win away from the Purdue Boilermakers heading into a series next weekend against the Indiana Hoosiers. Here's the 2-1, a pitch that's up and away. So it's 3 balls and 1 strike on the junior, Rachel Becker. She doubled in her first at-bat and scored on the single by Cora Bassett. And since then, it's been all Iowa. Here's the 3-1 from Allison Ducey. You know that Rachel Becker's going to have the green light to take a hit. It's right inside. It looked good, but the umpire saw it too far in, and so Rachel Becker will draw her 2nd consecutive walk with 1 out. It brings up Cora Bassett. Bassett singled in her first at-bat, scoring Becker, who had just doubled. And then Bassett bounced back to Allison Ducey in the circle in her second at-bat. That back in the third inning. Here we are in the bottom of the sixth. Purdue trying to make something happen here. Bassett yesterday hit a 3-run home run in game number 1 to close the gap to 5-3. And that was as close as they could get. Here's one that she gets a rip at, but it fouls it back into the backstop. Bassett on the weekend coming into today's game, 3 of 11. She's now 4 of 13. No balls and 1 strike on her. Here's the pitch from Ducey. A pitch. Does it hit that outside corner? It does. Called strike by that umpire. You know, that was the exact same spot that Rachel Becker's ball 4 pitch was at. Except Becker, a left-handed hitter, and Bassett is a right-handed hitter, so the umpire gets a different look as he moves his position from right to left about 1.5 feet. Here's a pitch out on the outside. That's ball 2, and straying off a little bit too far was Becker. Marissa Peak doing a nice job. She's got a swift arm down to any base. As we talked about, Peak has thrown out a runner earlier in this game for Marissa. 2 out of 9 on the season. So she's got a snap arm. Here is the 1-2 to Cora Bassett, and she looks at a pitch up and away. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the 2-2 from Allison Ducey, a pitch that Bassett will bounce down the third base line. Allison will pick it up, but it's too slow. She couldn't get to it fast enough. And Bassett will reach first on a base hit. It'll move Rachel Becker to second base, and it'll bring up the cleanup hitter, Riley Platusik. Now remember, Platusik hit a solo home run in game number 1 against the Hawks. Hawks built a 3-0 lead. She would hit the home run in the bottom of the 4th inning to make it 3-1. Iowa then extended that to 4-1 in the top of the 6th. Purdue would come back to score a run in the bottom of the 6th inning of that game to make it 4-2, and that's where that game ended. Iowa won game 1, 4-2. The Hawks won game 2 yesterday, 5-3, but dropped the second game of the doubleheader 5-4. That game took 12 innings. So they regrouped, came out today, fell behind 1-0 after 1 inning, but have since put up 8 runs and lead this game 8-1 in the bottom of the 6th. 1 out, runners at first and second, and the batter Platusik. She's 0 for 2 on the day. And Platusik 4 of 12 coming in. She was 2 for 6 with an RBI in the 12-inning game yesterday, and that one of those base hits was for the first run of the 2 they needed to win that game. Here's a pitch that jams her. She fouls down the first base line. Again, in game number 1, yesterday she had a base hit. And then she was 1 for 3 with that solo home run on Friday. She's up in the count here at 2 balls and 1 strike against Allison Ducey. Teammates at first and second. Cora Bassett at first, Rachel Becker at second. 1 out. Here's the 2-1 from Ducey. Hits that outside corner again. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here in the bottom of the 6th inning is Purdue at bat. Iowa leads at 8-1. Allison Ducey has yielded 5 hits. 6 hits, actually. Now with the single by Cora Bassett, the infield single. Here is the 2-2 that is lifted foul. And on the day as well for Allison Ducey, she has walked 2 batters. So she's yielded 6 hits, walked a couple of batters, and struck out but 2, and yet Iowa leads at 8-1. So the bats have come alive here in game number 4 for the Hawks. Here is the 2-2. And it's a strikeout against Riley Platusik, and it's the 3rd strikeout of the game for Allison Ducey. And so Kylie Goff will come to the plate with 2 outs, runners at first and second. Now Goff with the walk-off single to win it for Purdue yesterday. They had the bases loaded. There was only 1 out. She delivered with a hit out into left field. And it's 2 outs here with runners at first and second. Here's a pitch that's called strike 1. And she turns and looks at the umpire. Now, she's the catcher, so she's seeing the inconsistency of his balls and strikes calls. She shakes her head as she looks back at him. Now she'll step back into the batter's box, try to gather herself. Down on the count at no balls and 1 strike. 8-1 Iowa, bottom of the 6th inning, 2 gone. Here's the 0-1, and it's up and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Goff, the number 5 hitter in the lineup, 0 for 2 on the day. She lined out to Nia Carter in her first step. Actually, she's 1 for 2. She got a base hit, and then she was doubled up on a line drive by Echezarreta. Here's a pitch that is down the middle, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. And she popped up to Arely Bogar in the bottom of the 4th inning. Hawks have really pummeled Purdue 2 of their last 3 at-bats, 4 in the top of the 4th and 2 in the top of the 6th. The 6 runs added to the 2 they already had made it 8-1. Here's a pitch that's down and away. Allison hoping that Kylie Goff would go for it, and she does not. So it evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here is the 2-2 pitch she just gets the end of the bat on and rifles it into the Hawkeye dugout just short of it. It hit that chain link fence, that very sturdy, thick fence that they've got in front of that dugout. Very protective is what it is. Beautiful stadium, part of the $13 million complex at Purdue University. It opened up in 2015. It's called the Bittinger Stadium, part of the Mackey Complex master plan of $13 million. What a beautiful facility. Here's the 2-2 that's down and in on Riley Goff. So she's becoming a difficult batter here in this at-bat. Iowa with the 8-1 lead. It's now a full count on the freshman catcher from West Lafayette. Get yourself ready now. Feet set, bat back. Here comes the pitch from Allison Ducey. A pitch that's up and away, and it'll load the bases up with the 3rd walk of the afternoon by Allison Ducey. It's the 2nd consecutive walk today in this inning, as a matter of fact. So with the bases loaded and 2 gone, it brings up Alex Echezarreta. She 0 for 2 today, but she was 3 for 5 yesterday, so very capable of putting the ball in play, getting the Purdue Boilermakers some more runs. Certainly Iowa doesn't want to see Purdue score a number of runs here in this inning. Here's the first pitch from Ducey. It's a pitch that Echezarreta goes after, but will foul it behind the backstop. When the Hawks come to the plate in the top of the 7th inning, it'll be Kalena Burns leading off. Here's the 0-1 to Echezarreta. Hits it outside corner. Strike 2. The Hawks got 2 runs in the top of the 6th to make it 8-1 on a 2-run home run by Denali Lecker, the first home run of her career as an Iowa Hawkeye. She's got herself quite a bat. Can play the field nicely. Been playing first base. She's also done some other infield position play. Here's the 0-2 to Echezarreta. That is outside, and she will not chase it. Zoe Schulte has come in for Riley Sheehy. That's been a few innings ago. Schulte batting second in the lineup. She has scored 2 of the 8 runs the Hawks have here today. Talk more about her when the Hawks come to the plate. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Alex Echezarreta. Bases are loaded. 2 gone, Alice Ducey with a pitch that's down and in, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Marissa Peak behind the plate. She and Lindy Molkowski sharing duties, both doing very well. Here's a pitch that's outside, and that will make the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Alex Echezarreta. Two outs, bases loaded. Alex Echezarreta at the plate. Here's the 3-2 from Alice Ducey. One that Echezarreta goes after, swings at, and misses. Down on strikes. Ends the inning with the bases loaded. The 4th strikeout of the game for Alice Ducey comes at a super time with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 6th inning. We'll go to the top of the 7th. Iowa leads Purdue by the score of 8-1. Kalena Burns, Ashley Hamilton, and Arilee Bogar will come to the plate for the Hawks. So we've reached the top of the 7th inning. Iowa piling up the runs on the Purdue Boilermakers today, leading at 8-1. Looks like the Hawks going to have a Ashley Hamilton will step into the batter's box. Ashley on the day 0 for 3. She's flown out twice and grounded out once. So looks at a pitch that's outside. Ashley Hamilton coming into the game at 167 hitting. 2 hits, actually 3 hits. I have to get sports information on that. She's got 3 hits because she had 2 on Friday's game, and she had 1 in game number 1 of the doubleheader yesterday. Didn't play in the second game of the doubleheader. Here's the pitch that's down and away. Oh, it's strike 1. Looked down and away to me. Ashley at 5'10", lanky, playing third base, out of Cedar Rapids, prepping at Kennedy High School. Left-handed hitter. Here is the pitch to her that's down and away, so it's 3 balls and 1 strike. In the pandemic year, a year ago, she batted 167. Started 6 of 14 games she played, was 3 of 18 at the plate. She did hit a couple of doubles. She's got a good stroke about her when she swings that bat. Here's the 3-1 to her that she'll lift foul down the left field line. Ashley Peters in the circle for the Purdue Boilermakers. She relieved Savannah Henley in the top of the 4th inning with 2 outs. And the Hawks would promptly pick up some more runs. Here's a pitch that's inside on Ashley, and she will draw a walk. So now Ashley Hamilton will be pinch run for. We'll get that player to you here momentarily. Avery Guy will be running for Ashley Hamilton here in the top of the 7th inning. Avery, pinch run. She did some pinch running service yesterday She started the second game. She was 0 for 3, but did score a run. Here is Arely Bogar at the plate. Looks at a strike. For Ashley Hamilton, it is the third walk of the season for her. Arely at the plate. Her last at bat, she grounded to shortstop. 0 for 2 on the day with a walk and a score back in the second inning. Scored the Hawkeyes' first run. Arely yesterday was 1 for 5 with a run scored. She did strike out twice. Bogar's run was in the bottom of the 11th inning that tied the score for the Hawks. Actually gave the Hawks the lead, and Purdue would come back and score in the bottom of the 11th. And then they would score 2 in the bottom of the 12th. Up in the count at 2 balls and 1 strike is Arely Bogar. Left-handed hitting slap hitter. Here's a pitch that she'll bound off the end of the bat, but into the backstop. So Avery Guy is running for Ashley Hamilton. Guy did some pinch running service back in game 1 on Friday. Scored a run. Here's a pitch that's fouled back, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. And that back in game 1, Avery would pinch run in the top of the 6th inning. And she would score on the single by Briley Klosterman. That was the 4th run of that game, and the Hawks ended up winning it 4-2. Here's the 2-2 to Arely Bogar, lifts it out to left field, and it's driving the left fielder back over her head. It rolls to the wall. Arely to second, and gonna come home with the throw and the tag out on Avery Guy. Nice relay for the Purdue Boilermakers to get Avery Guy trying to score from first base on the double by Arely Bogar. So after drawing a walk, did Ashley Hamilton. Avery Guy runs for her. Arely Bogar lifts one over the left fielder's head. Avery on the move, but they had her gunned down at the plate on the relay from left fielder Riley Platusik to the shortstop Rachel Becker to home to Kylie Goff and the tag. It wasn't even close. They get Avery Guy, and so that puts Arely Bogar at second base. And with 1 out, it is Marissa Peak, the number 8 hitter. Evens the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Briley Klosterman will be on deck for the Hawks. They lead this game 8-1. You ever can't stop playing. So here's the 1-1 to Marissa Peak, who dribbles one over to second base to Emily Cox, and she'll get it over to Sydney Bates for the ground out. So that's out number 2 for the Hawks here in the top of the 7th inning. It'll bring up Briley Klosterman. Klosterman 0 for 3 on the day, but on the weekend she's 5 for 8, 2 for 2 with 2 for 2 with a walk in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday. Here is Briley. She'll dribble one as well to Cox at second, to Sydney Bates, and a repeat of the previous at-bat. And the Hawks down 3 outs. They put a couple runners on, can't get any across, but they've got an 8-1 lead heading into the bottom of the 7th inning. When we return to play, it'll be the number 7 hitter, Caitlin Brandstrom, for Purdue when play resumes. Well, if the Purdue Boilermakers can score 7, make an extra inning game out of it, more power to them. They've got a mountain to climb. That mountain gets a little bit bigger as the Hawks have built a nice lead, doing the work at the plate, scoring in 4 of their 7 at-bats, once in the second, once in the third, 4 in the fourth, to take a 6-1 lead, and then added 2 more in the sixth on the 2-run home run by Denali Lecker. Caitlin Brandstrom will step to the plate 0 for 2 on the day today. Brandstrom 2 for 5 in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday. 1 for 1 in Friday's game as she did a pinch hitting role. And she started in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, was 0 for 3. So having a modest weekend is Brandstrom. Allison Ducey looking to finish off the game. It'd be her second consecutive complete game. And again, she's climbing the ladder of consecutive complete game wins, or complete games pitched, that is. Here's one that bounces off the dugout of the University of Iowa Hawkeyes. Brandstrom evens the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Here's the 1-1 from the senior Ducey. Pitch that's right down the middle, lifted out to right field, and it bounces fair, rolls to the wall, hits the wall under the 210-foot mark, and into second base is Caitlin Brandstrom. She showed yesterday that she can hit the ball. She was 2 for 5 yesterday. And she gets the Boilermakers off to a good start. Yesterday's 2 hits were both singles. This one is a double. And for Brandstrom, it is her first double of the season. But she gives the Purdue Boilermakers a little bit of sunshine. Got a lot of sunshine to gain here, being down 8-1, but it's the way to start. Kendall Chase will step into the batter's box, the number 8 hitter. She singled in her last at-bat and was forced at second on a double play ball, hit by Sydney Bates up the middle. Errol Lee Bogar with a good play on that. Chase up in the count here at 1 ball and no strikes. Caitlin Brandstrom at second base after starting off this half inning with a double. Here's a grounder to Ashley Hamilton. Great play by Ashley to scoop it. She looks Brandstrom back to second base and throws across the diamond for the first out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. 1 gone, number 9 hitter and Sydney Bates at the plate. Bates 0 for, let's see, she's 1 for 2. She singled in her first at bat and was forced at second in that at bat for the Boilermakers, and she hit into a fielder's choice in her second at bat. The number 9 hitter. Here is the first pitch from Ducey, one that is bounced, and it'll bounce foul. And a pinch runner is in now for Caitlin Brandstrom. It is Kirsten George. So Kirsten George will come in and run for Brandstrom here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and she'll be on second base. Purdue doing what they can to try to salvage some runs, try to get back into this softball game. 7 runs is a lot of runs to make up, folks. You don't score 7 runs in a lot of softball games the way it is, let alone try to make up 7 just to tie the score. And so George pinch running for Brandstrom at second base with 1 out. Here's the pitch to Bates. She swings that and misses. So she's down in the count at no balls and 2 strikes. Iowa looking to win the series here with a win over Purdue would make it 3-1, and the Hawks would remain no less in 5th place in the Big Ten heading into the weekend series next weekend with Indiana. A game on Friday starts at 3. A doubleheader on Saturday, 1 and 3:30 approximately, and the game on Sunday, Easter Sunday, is a 3 o'clock start time next weekend against Indiana. Here's the 1-2 against Bates. It's low and away, and it gets away from Marissa Peak. So on to third goes Kirsten George on the pass ball. And with one out, Bates has a 2-2 count on her. Here's the 2-2 from Allison Ducey. It's a pitch that is lifted foul on the backstop by Sydney Bates. Bates, a redshirt senior from Davie, Florida. Bottom of the 7th inning. Iowa leads at 8-1. 1 out, 2-2 pitch on Sydney Bates, the number 9 hitter. Here's the pitch that she'll dribble. Ashley Hamilton at third base will pick it up over to first and the out. Boy, does she have range and fundamental talent to pick up those balls that normally would get to the shortstop. Now, Ashley also is a shortstop, but she can cover a lot of ground. Quick to her left. Her lateral movement is really good. She's got a nice, swift, strong arm. So with 2 gone, runner at third, Riley Scott, the leadoff hitter, at the plate, working against Allison Ducey. Looks at a ball that's down and in. So it's ball 1. Riley Scott. Here's a pitch that she hits right over top of the shortstop in between Zoe Schulte and Bradley Klosterman. So George will score from third, and the single by Riley Scott is the 7th hit of the day off of Allison Ducey, and just the first hit of the day for Riley Scott. Scott had been on a terror, 5 for 11 coming in, but the Hawks have done a nice job on her today. But that brings up Rachel Scott, who walked not only in her last at-bat, but the previous at-bat, and doubled in her first at-bat. So she's officially 1 for 1 with a couple of walks. Here is the first pitch to her, strike 1 down the middle. 2 outs and Purdue's bottom of the 7th inning. They've scored a run to make it 8-2. Allison Ducey looking to complete this game. Here is the pitch that Becker will rip fouled on the left field line. So as I'd mentioned, I'm sure that Coach Renee Gillespie is going to leave Allison Ducey in the circle. It'll be her 68th and 69th complete game, as she did it in game number 1 yesterday of the doubleheader, the split with Purdue. Ducey went 7 innings then. She's in 7 innings here today. Here's the pitch to Becker. It's low. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Coming into the weekend, 67 complete games for Allison Ducey, which makes her 6th in career complete games among active Division I leaders. Going to tally on 2 more. Here's the pitch to Becker. It's up and in on her. She doesn't chase it. So it's 1 ball. Now it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on the junior Rachel Becker. Eight to 2 the Hawks. 2 outs. Here's the 2-2 from Allison Ducey. A pitch that's down and in. So it's ball 3. 3 balls and 2 strikes. A walk to Becker is not going to hurt. Actually, would be more helpful, probably. But Cora Bassett, also a fierce hitter, is on deck. See if the Hawks can end it right here. No force in play. Here is the pitch to Becker. She rips it out into right field to Nia Carter, quickly into second base. So Becker, 2 for 2 on the day, a single and a double with 2 walks. That moves Riley Scott to second base, and it brings up Cora Bassett. We know what Bassett's capable of doing. She hit a 3-run home run yesterday in the bottom of the 5th inning, and that's where Purdue stalled out. Hawks did a nice job to shut them down to win that game 5-3 in game 1 of the doubleheader. Bassett in the second game of the doubleheader was 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Part of that 2-run inning, bottom of the 12th. Here's the first pitch to her that's outside. Cora Bassett singled in to help the bases get loaded in that bottom of the 12th inning. At the plate here with runners at first and second. 2 outs. Here's a pitch that she'll take a strong cut at. Just can't connect. Fouls it into the backstop. Boy, she took a home run cut at that one. In Friday's game, Bassett was 0 for 2 with a walk. Heated things up yesterday with that 3-run home run and added 2 more hits in the second game of the doubleheader. Here's a pitch that's up and away from her, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Hawks leading 8-2. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Purdue with runners at first and second. Cora Bassett, the number 3 hitter in the lineup, at the plate for the Boilermakers. Here's the 2-1 from Ducey. A pitch that is up and away again. 3 balls and 1 strike. Purdue had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 6th inning, and Allison Ducey got out of the inning with a strikeout for the 3rd out of the inning. The Boilermakers had the bases loaded back in the bottom of the 4th as well. Here is the 3-1. Nice pitch by Allison. Hits that outside corner knee high, so we're at a full count. See if Allison can get it stopped right here. 3 balls and 2 strikes. On the sophomore, Cora Bassett. Playing third base. She's really played a hot third base this weekend. Here's the pitch to her that she swings at. Gets just past Allison Ducey. And so in the meantime, Scott will score from second. They can't get the force at second for the 3rd out because it was hit too far to the left of Grace Baines. And Becker able to get there quickly. So the base hit by Cora Bassett makes it a 8-3 game. 2 outs, runners at first and second again. This time it's Cora Bassett and Rachel Becker. Riley Platusik, the left fielder, batting in the cleanup, is at the plate. Here's a pitch. Hits that outside corner, strike 1. So Platusik on the day is 0 for 3. 4 for 12 coming into the game today. She was 2 for 6 with an RBI yesterday in that 5-4 12-inning game win. 1 for 3 in the first game of the doubleheader, and she hit a solo home run in Friday's game. Here she bats one back into the backstop. So the count evens up at 1 ball and 1 strike. It's no balls and 2 strikes on Platusik. Still 2 outs. Purdue has scored twice here in the bottom of the 7th. Now they trail only by 5. Here's the 0-2 to Platusik. Does it hit that outside corner? No. The umpire, stubborn, won't give Allison the call. So it's a ball and 2 strikes on Platusik, the junior left fielder. 360 hitter coming into the weekend. Hasn't damaged her batting average at all, except for today at 0 for 3. Here is the 1-2, a pitch that she'll lift foul. Just gets the head of the bat out. Knocks it foul. She struck out in her last at-bat and had grounded out and flew out in the previous 2 at-bats. Down in the count now to ball and 2 strikes. Peak and Allison Ducey looking into the dugout to get the pitch call from head coach Renee Gillespie. Here's the 1-2 from the senior Allison Ducey. A pitch that Platusik will go after. She gets the bat on it. It's just to the right of Allison Ducey. She can't stretch to get it. And now the bases are loaded on the infield hit by Platusik. And it brings up the freshman Kylie Goff. Last time Goff was in this situation with the bases loaded was yesterday afternoon in game number 2 in the bottom of the 12th inning. She delivered with a walk-off single to score the 2nd run of that bottom of the 12th inning and the 5th run of the game to win it for Purdue. Now with the bases loaded, Head coach Renee Gillespie heading out to talk with pitcher Allison Ducey and the rest of that infield, trying to slow things down, talk to them about how we're going to finish off this Purdue Boilermaker half inning. I mean, the last thing that the Hawks need to do is give up a home run. Kylie Goff has not hit one this season as a freshman. She does, though, have 2 triples and a double coming into the game today, just 1 for 10 on the series. She walked in her last at-bat and was 0 for 2 prior. So she's 0 for 2 for the day, 0 for the weekend. 1 for 12 on the weekend. That single came yesterday. That bases loaded, game-winning walk-off single. She has the bases loaded here. Allison Ducey, Marissa, peak your battery. Here comes the first pitch to Goff. It's down and in. Bottom of the 7th inning. Iowa leads at 8-3. Purdue has scored twice. Has the bases loaded. 2 outs. The 5th hitter in the lineup, the freshman catcher, Kylie Goff, at the plate. Here's the pitch from Allison Ducey. The 1-0 pitch, it's grounded foul. It's right down the middle. Kylie went after it. Power against power. See if Allison can get one by her again. 1-1 on Kylie Goff, freshman catcher for the Purdue Boilermakers. 2 outs, bottom of the 7th. Bases loaded. Here comes the 1-1 from Allison Ducey. A pitch outside. 2 balls and 1 strike. We'll see what head coach Renee Gillespie dials up for Allison Ducey here. Alex Echezarreta is on deck. Definitely capable hitter herself. Had 3 hits in yesterday's second game of the doubleheader. Is 0 for 3 today. See if Allison can shut down Goff here. Here's the 2-1. A pitch that she rips down the third base line and foul. Boy, did she get around on that pitch. She got it just a little bit ahead of it and rips it foul. 2 balls, 2 strikes on the freshman catcher, Kylie Goff. Here is the 2-2, a line drive right back to Allison Ducey to first base, and the out. That ball ripped the glove off of her hand. I'm not sure if it hit her wrist, but she was able to pick it up and fire it over to Denali Lecker. She looks in pain with that left hand. That will end the game. It hit her hard. She actually is crying. Hopefully it's not a bad injury, but it ripped the glove off of her hand and it just rolled out of the circle. She was able to retrieve it and throw it over to first base to complete the inning, stop Purdue in its tracks after scoring 2 runs. But it was a line drive right off of her left hand, maybe her left wrist. I'm not really sure. But let's hope it's not anything serious. But the big thing is here today, the Hawks win the 4th game of the series, take the series 3-1. With a 4-2 win on Friday behind Sarah Lehman's 7 innings pitched. A 5-3 win in game 1 of a doubleheader yesterday. Allison Ducey complete game, 7 innings, 6 hits and given up 3 runs, all of them earned. They did lose the second game of the doubleheader yesterday to the Purdue Boilermakers, 5-4 in 12 innings. Lauren Shaw pitched 8 1/3 innings, did a nice job in the circle, scattering 11 hits and allowing only 2 runs. Sarah Lehman would come in with 3 innings pitched and give up 4 hits and the 3 runs in that loss. So that was 2 wins for the Hawks and 1 for Purdue. Coming back today, the Hawks win this one 8-3. Iowa scores 1 in the second. They get 1 in the third to take a 2-1 lead. 4 in the 4th inning, and the Hawks would get a 2-run home run from Denali Lecker in the 6th inning to take an 8-1 lead. Purdue would mount threat here in the bottom of the 7th inning. They would get the bases loaded. They would score 2 runs, and then that would end it as a line drive off of the wrist or hand of Allison Ducey just dribbled away from her a little bit, but she was able to pick it up and get it over to first base for the third out of the bottom of the seventh inning and end the ball game by the score of 8-3. So the Hawks now will move their record to 10-6, heading into their opening weekend series of the season next Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll have it for you here on Big BTN Plus. Game Friday will be at 3 o'clock. The doubleheader on Saturday will start at 1, the second game approximately at 3:30, and then on Easter Sunday, next Sunday, the Hawks will have the fourth game against the Indiana Hoosiers at 4 o'clock. Talking about the Hoosiers, they will come in with no less than a 7-8 record. Indiana this weekend is tangling with the Michigan Wolverines, and they have already lost the first 3 games. But it'll be a good Indiana softball team that comes to Iowa City next weekend. Let's just hope and pray that Allison Ducey is okay after taking a line drive either off of her wrist that ripped her glove off her hand or off her arm or something. Let's just hope that all is good. I'm Jerry Koala. Thanks for tuning in all weekend long. Hope you enjoyed all 4 of the broadcasts. We'll have them again next Friday for you, next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday right here on BTN Plus. You have yourself a great weekend. We'll talk to you next weekend on BTNplus.com.